They had
I
a
thought,
bunch of stuff.
yeah, we were going to talk about Anglican stuff and mention maybe the Epstein stuff. And so,
Uh, yeah. So you sent me some Anglican stuff. I'm sorry. I was just reading back and forth about with uh, David Brooks um and Rodrier about um I guess David Brooks is going to retire from the New York Times and who should take his spot. And so
I thought that was the David French seat
yeah,
that he was going to be given.
he was going to be given
Yeah.
maybe. So I was just skimming it. I didn't really get the argument back and forth, but
Well, Brooks was the conservative guy on the New York Times, and he was didn't he argue like against the nuclear family, like it was a bad idea. We shouldn't.
yeah,
Um, which not like from the conservative perspective. I mean, like the conservative perspective is on the nuclear family is it should be wider, right? So we should have grandparents, uncles, aunts. The family should not be so. I mean, the really conservative view is that like well, the the present norm, which in which a child grows up, goes to college, gets married, moves 20 billion miles away, has his nuclear family or her nuclear family there, then repeat the process over again. So you have this massively spread apart families. Whereas it would be better to have, you know, like in the olden days, families sticking together in one place and putting down roots. So you have parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, great grandparents, um, just living in the same place. And even if it means not going to a location where you could make more money, staying close to family is like it should be a higher value than economic grandeur.
I mean, I think that's a shocking thing to say.
Yeah, but that wasn't what
But
Brooks was saying. When Brooks was going against the nuclear family, I think he was just saying the family's a bad idea or something. I don't know.
yeah, I don't remember reading his piece. I think people are complaining about how much he's lectured people and Christians about how they should be,
About the
while
gay
at
thing, I
the
think
same
he's like
time,
pro LGBT. He's pro LGBTQ, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
but he divorced his wife and married somebody who was much younger than him, I think. And so Roger was saying, don't judge him. There's tons of divorced people out there, which is true. And not everybody who is divorced wanted to be that way. Um, I think somebody was saying it's not that it's he's telling everybody how they're supposed to be. They get about the family and Christianity and what it is, but he isn't practicing anything
Yeah,
except for
yeah. I mean,
maybe
I would say, I
Buddhism.
mean, yes, sometimes terrible things happen and divorce happens, and there's
Yeah,
nothing you can do about it. Um, but you probably shouldn't, set yourself up as a dispenser of advice after,
yeah.
after afterwards.
Didn't David Brooks write the piece about going to buy a sandwich and meeting the common person? And it
I,
was so moving. Or he took a young woman out to buy a sandwich in the streets of New York or something, and he was worried that he had violated, you know, decency because maybe she didn't know what all of the words on the menu meant, or I don't know. It was like very patronizing, and it might be even thinking of somebody else. I became a meme. It was like a joke. David Brooks's sandwich
well, a
buying.
lot of the conservatives that we knew, or we were like political conservatives who we read when we were younger, have turned out not to be. Like,
Mhm.
what's that guy's name who had the standard, the daily standard or the weekly standard?
Weekly Standard.
Who was
Yeah.
that?
Uh,
He's horrible. He's like he's
they all turned out to be the Dispatch instead.
Yeah, yeah. It's like this the person who did the Weekly Standard is like worse than even David French. As far as if you're a conservative, you would think like I'm a political conservative, you would think that he's worse than David French.
Yeah.
That's a bad. So
I but David French already oh
Bill
no,
Crystal,
David
yeah,
French
Bill Crystal. That's
Bill
who it is.
Kristol.
Yeah.
David French is going to be elevated into the chair of David Brooks as the lone conservative of the New York Times, right? That's going to be what happens.
That's what I said. It's a David French chair. It's going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the new quote unquote conservative for the New York Times. I'm sure. That has been said, but I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Josh says, nice touring, Molly Cross. Uh, thank you for your attention to this matter. Uh, this is an old, ancient. The Tuareg in northern Mali used to be Christian. They don't remember this themselves, but they make beautiful, or they did make beautiful Malian gold stuff. I was just reading something about gold and from Ghana, but I was in the middle of that. I took a short nap. That's the
You
problem.
forgot everything. We said we were going to talk about the Archbishop
Okay, let's talk about the Archbishop.
Malawi and
Yeah.
and and then
Yeah.
also
I did read the piece you sent me. Malali's former cleric, when she was Bishop of London, was the one who didn't protest. He
right.
objected at the normal time of objections.
So
Eh,
when an
yeah.
archbishop or a bishop or even I think even a priest is ordained, there's a moment in the service where it's like a marriage, like when you get married or at your wedding in an Anglican service. There's the point where the priest asks the congregation if anyone has any lawful reason why the two cannot be joined. Speak now or forever hold your peace. There's a similar point in the service at uh, for the consecration of an archbishop or bishop or priest. I think also a deacon. I think also a priest. I'm not quite sure about those, but I think so. So this guy has objections, and they're not theological objections. Sadly, I thought when I first saw it that he was
Yeah.
an Orthodox guy raising an objection about the fact that Archbishop Malawi is pro LGBTQ and feminist and all the crazy stuff. Um, but no, it's because of some well, it's legitimate reasons. It's because she didn't act on reported cases of child abuse. It's this weird relationship between Archbishop Malawi and the Archbishop of York,
Cultural.
Cottrell, right? Like he said that the accusations against her needed to go away. He was in charge of the investigation. He made them go away, and now she has made the charges against him go away. So it's kind of a it stinks to
Yeah.
yeah. This is a quote from advocate for victims and survivors Andrew Greystone said the verdicts show the church's internal disciplinary system is wholly compromised. Quote, last week, Sarah Malawi was effectively exonerated by Stephen Cottrell, and this week, Stephen Cottrell was effectively exonerated by Sarah Malawi. It's great how that works.
Yeah. Everybody needs a friend,
Yeah,
like a well-placed friend.
yeah, yeah.
So I think one of the things that happened is that somebody in Malali's diocese in London committed suicide at some
Mm,
point. And because there was a list of people's names who were supposedly very bad people was circulated, and his name was included, and he shouldn't have been on that in that list of
right, that's
people.
right.
And
Yeah,
he was shamed, and he ended up committing suicide. And nobody did anything about it, really. She said, "I'm so sorry," but it's very sketchy. Like it
needless to
seems like
say, had she been a conservative male,
she wouldn't have survived such an
that
investigation.
the investigation would have been, yeah, no way he would have gotten out of that. So
No.
So it's easy, these accusations are handy to use, and then easy to lose. So
It's again though, just like even the person bringing the chart, like he stood up and at duly appointed time in the service to complain, and he had
yeah,
three things he wanted to say, but they are bureaucratic things. Like they are not relating to spirituality
right.
of any kind.
Well, they are, but more her misuse of authority, which is fine, but she shouldn't have had the authority in the first place. That should be the thing that is being objected against. But what's fascinating to me is not the content of the objections. Or the Church of England is basically lost. But what was fascinating to me is is how, yeah, behavior, not doctrine. Uh, they still have in the liturgy a place for you to lodge objections. But if you read the article, the only time you actually could lodge legal objections was months before, or a month before the king had finalized her appointment. That's and they published the bans. Um, but it's a reference to an old practice where you'd publish in the newspaper. Back in the old days, you had these things they would throw from bicycles or cars onto your front porches, and it'd be it's paper, and you would open roll it, and they would have news on it, newspaper. So back the published bans in the newspaper, and the those would be like if you're yeah, our daughter's about to get married to a man named Ben. We would say that publicly, and people would have the opportunity, in case Ben or our daughter had some secret life going on, they're publishing the
Could
ban.
object.
Right. So same thing here for the Archbishop. And this guy didn't live in London, I guess, or didn't see the bans, so he didn't know he had he should have probably put his objections forward months ago. And so he heard, but if you hear why is that in your service if you're not going to allow people to say you should not have the point in your service where you say please object if you think there's any legal reason why this person can't be archbishop. If you're just going to go on and say, oh, hearing no objections.
Yeah, because he was shouting,
Yeah,
and then the person
everyone heard
says
the
it to them like there are no objections. So it, it was funny. Like that was they should have just for optics' sake stopped and said, "Oh yes, old gentleman, sir," because it made them look stupid. I thought they looked stupid.
I mean, what you do is like in a wedding, you would say, okay, well, here's an objection. We're going to pause the service for a moment, go back, listen to what it is. If it's some guy saying, oh, but I love her and I want to marry her, you say, well, sorry, that's not an actual legitimate objection. But if it's someone saying, oh, I'm this person's wife, and you uh, we have his family at home,
Hmm.
that's a legitimate objection. You might want to investigate before going forward with with the service.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a, a wedding interrupted and then it carries on. I mean, this has never happened to anybody that I know.
Thank
Like,
goodness never happened. That'd be
I
very
mean,
embarrassing.
that's a good time for the celebrant to make a little joke. Ha ha
But
ha.
but it's interesting to compare this to, I mean, as bad as the Episcopal Church is, um, and they did basically the same thing. But when Gene Robinson was consecrated back in 2003, um, Bishop Benna was nominated by the Orthodox bishops to stand up and read his objection when the time came in the service. And to their credit, the Episcopal Church, you could back then. I'm not sure how they did it, but we watched the service live on the internet in
That's true.
2003. Yeah,
Yeah, it was live
and
streamed
it was
somehow.
live streamed in 2003. I'm not sure how they did
Well,
that.
I don't know because people had televisions. There was live television back in the
Well,
day,
no, but there wasn't live streaming. It
not
was
onto the internet. Yeah, but it was. We were watching it on a laptop.
yeah. So they gave him a microphone. They gave him the floor. He was able to launch his objection, and then afterwards they went on with the service. But I mean, they didn't take it seriously. But they
Yeah.
let him speak, right? They didn't drag him out. They didn't drag him out of the out of the church. So it's kind of interesting that the Church of England has come to the point where they can't.
I,
They won't.
it
They won't.
also, I mean, the fact that there's a kind of a like a revolving door of complaints, abuse, like the clergy feel like they're being misused and treated poorly. That's the thing that this person who committed suicide, like the clergy feel that they're not being treated fairly. Then there are abuse complaints, like that clerics behave very badly towards
I mean,
people
I don't
who
know. I
don't.
don't live there. Maybe some are people who are watching this live there, but England seems like a hellhole right now. I mean, my goodness, the church and the cultures. This sounds horrible. Like I would hate to
I don't
live there.
think for everyone. Like
Well,
I
no,
do.
like if you're a lord or lady or something, maybe not. But
Well, I think in certain parts, I see people I know posting pictures of their lives, and it looks fine. And um, I think there are places where you can live, and it's probably like Binghamton. There's some good parts, and there's some trashy parts. But it seems like maybe the trashy parts are growing, and no
well, I
one's
mean,
doing
like as
anything
far as
about
like
it.
the legal interface with legal and bureaucratic,
Yeah,
seems like a hellhole. Like you can't, like you can be arrested apparently for posting something the government doesn't like on X. I mean, that's
yeah.
they come to your door and literally knock
I
on
think
your door
that's true.
and take you to jail
Yeah,
if you
I
post
think.
something. Like and you can get arrested like for putting up a flag,
Hmm.
not like a Nazi flag. I mean, like an
Like a
English
British
flag,
flag. Yeah,
A British, a British, the Union Jack or the Cross of St. George flag. I mean, I mean, what? It's so weird. I mean, we look. It's looked. I you can we when we drive down to Texas, we pass through, obviously the southern states, and there's like all over the place. There's like Confederate flags
yeah.
flying everywhere. Um,
They
and no
will rise
one's arrested,
again
right? No,
another day.
right, and no one's arrested. Um, so it's just strange to look at what's happening in merry old England,
Yeah, it's and the church isn't there
right?
to say anything. Like it's not a place of consolation.
So
I posted, huh?
go ahead.
I posted this. I think it was Friday. This guy who was like, I want to go to an Anglo Catholic church. I don't like Sarah Mullally because she sounds like an evangelical, which that's not true. But he doesn't want people talking about asking Jesus into their hearts or anything like that. He wants the sort of Anglo Catholic ritual, and he doesn't know whether he believes in God or not, but he likes the tradition, and so you know eh, the church is cool with that. I mean, of course, everybody wants everybody to go to church, but once you get there, somebody should tell you that you're wrong. But that doesn't seem to be probably a part of many people's church going activities.
James Gibson says Hellhole was a Spinal Tap song. They'd get in trouble for singing it over there now as it would hit too close to home. That's right. I haven't seen Spinal Tap. I want to see that movie. I've never seen it.
Oh, I can either.
It's a fake documentary about a rock band in the 80s
Ooh,
or
okay.
70s. Yeah, so it's funny. It's supposed to be funny. Um, the I actually did a modicum of research before this show, and
Okay, good, because I
and
took a nap.
so the Church of England is the largest Anglican province in in our in the communion, right? They have 26 million Anglicans who are baptized. Um, of those, the average Sunday attendance is around 500,000.
My God,
Can you believe that?
that's
I
like
mean, the, there's like, by comparison, the Episcopal Church is like much healthier because
that's like 800,000, isn't it?
no, it's less than that. But the Episcopal Church on the books has 1.2 million baptized members. Average Sunday attendance is somewhere around 400,000, I think now.
Okay.
Um, it's shrunk significantly, but it's still shrinking. But it's compared to the Church of England, I said that ratio is much better. It's the numbers are much better. Yeah, by comparison, the Church of Nigeria that has about 22 million baptized members, and it seems like a good half of those actually go to church on Sunday or more. So Nigeria is like a true powerhouse. It's bigger, it dwarfs the Church of England when it comes to people actually going to church. Um, so it's interesting. So, and it's a lot bigger than the other GAF. Like if you look, I was reading about the membership of the GAFCON churches and the Global South churches, and it dwarfs the other ones too. Uganda's close. I think Uganda has like 18 million, but Nigeria has uh, 22. Um, so GAFCON says we have 85% of the active Anglican membership
And
at
most of them are in Nigeria.
Yeah, we have the plurality of them are the biggest chunk are Nigerian. Hmm.
So is this a good moment to ask why on earth GSFA won't join the Global Anglican Communion? And what is GSFA?
Yeah, the Global South Fellowship of Anglicans, I think it is. I mean, let me get that right. It's where is it? Uh, I sent it to you.
Well, I read the communique, but I was, again, falling asleep. Sorry to say. Um, Global Anglican,
Global South
Global South
Fellowship.
Fellowship of Anglicans,
Yeah, that's right.
meeting
Yes.
in the Seychelles, which seems like a nice place to go in the
So
middle
if
of
you
winter.
remember, back in October, I think it was, when very soon after Malali was elected and confirmed or appointed, whatever, the GAFCON GAFCON churches um, launched what's called the Global Anglican Communion, GAC, which GAFCON is also bad acronym in English. GAC is a bad acronym. Yeah, a bad acronym in English. We need to be better at naming our things, so, so it sounds good in English because we're an Anglican church. That's English is our
I
language.
mean, our
Um,
church is COGS. That's
I know. Church of the
That's
Good Shepherd,
bad.
COGS, and the college students call us COGS.
Yeah.
Uh, so anyway, uh, when what the Global Anglican Communion is it's the churches that are part of this, the Anglican Church of the provinces that are part of this, no longer recognize uh, the Anglican Communion, Canterbury-centered communion as the Anglican Communion. We're just not. We just we would claim to be the legitimate communion of Anglicans in the world. Um, so the question was, are all the GAFCON provinces going to join this? And are all the Global South provinces going to join this? And everyone knew not all the Global South provinces would join up. But interestingly, back in October, the Anglican Global South Fellowship of Anglicans issued a communique in which they said they did not recognize the leadership of the Archbishop of Canterbury because of
Mhm.
election. So they at that point they were right with us recognizing now this is wrong. Church of England is no longer our leader as far as uh, being in line with our theology. But then their most recent communique, they say,
It's number 3.
yeah, they say that after I'll read the whole paragraph because it's kind of interesting. Preaching on John 6, verse 66 through 69 at our opening service, Archbishop Titre Ande reminded us that we should not be surprised if there are those who abandon Jesus and his teaching. After many left him, Jesus says to the 12, "You do not want to leave too, do you?" And Peter replies, "Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life." This question comes to the church today. Are we leaving or are we staying? GSFA is staying within the Anglican Communion. Now, that the picture there is really kind of fishy, right? Because the Anglican Communion, and if we're using this simile, the Anglican Communion is in the place of Jesus,
Yeah,
and the Global South Fellowship of Anglicans is staying with
with
the Anglican
Jesus.
Communion because where else will we go? You have the words of life. That doesn't work.
No.
This is a badly. I know they don't mean that way. I don't think they mean it that way, but that the statement is really badly done. Um, More importantly, we are staying with Jesus to bear witness that we must choose life rather than death, and life right rather than darkness. So they kind of clarify it in that last sentence. We are staying with Jesus to bear witness that we must choose life rather than death, light rather than darkness. Yes, that's what you must do. Um, but I would suggest that your remaining in that organization is enabling it to sustain itself. You are contributing to its ongoing life. Parasites are destroyed. You know, heresy is a parasitic type thing. The parasitic nature of heresy has already destroyed this communion, and the only reason it still remains is that you guys have chosen to stay in. If you would just join the new one, then that old thing would topple down, and all of the ruin and harm and destruction that it has wrought on souls would be dealt with. So, and it would die. So, I think this is a really bad decision.
Well, it makes me wonder if somebody, got to them. Like,
Well, there is the question of the financial packages that the Church of England can offer, as well as Trinity Wall Street. That the what happens is these Western churches go in and say, "Hey, we see that you need a cathedral here in your capital city, and we will fund the construction of this new church building for you, or we will fund the this food program for this something good." And then the Kenya or some other church will say, "Sure, that sounds great," but then they've now tied themselves to Trinity Wall Street money, and once you've done that, you are um, effectively owned.
it's really a
And
very,
interesting, they call it that this is how colonization always works, isn't it? This is how the left, for all the theological left, for all their complaining about colonization, that they are superior at the game. This is what they do. They go and they use their money to create slaves out of these Orthodox provincial churches.
but the money is accepted. I mean, that's part of it's offered, but it's also accepted. I mean, there is some agency on the part of,
Right. Well, there is at first,
right. But
but
I
then
mean,
after that, I
like
mean, like
part of part of what GAFCON Kigali was that, and some of the Global South GSFA bishops came to that and agreed to the statement. Was part of it was that money would not be accepted from heretical provinces. That was one thing, but it's really interesting. This statement compared to the Kigali statement is just like miles apart. The Kigali statement is on point, focused, Christian, and
as you say so humbly, as
yeah, well,
one of
yeah,
the authors of
basically nobody remembers
that's
who
so
was
humble.
there.
Yeah. The Kagami statement was amazing.
It was amazing. I'm just gonna say it. So
It
this
was
is too bad, and this kind of exegesis is really disappointing. Like a bad application of scripture in the middle of a, you know, church moment. Like, uh, it's very discouraging to me when people misuse the name of Jesus. Uh, it's a
Yeah,
little bit like the horrible thing with a Mia person who was like said to Rwanda, "You're the Pharaoh that doesn't know Joseph." Like the formation of terror. Lots more acronyms there, but they just totally take a text and apply it to a current
right.
situation to which it has very with which it has very little to do. Um, that shouldn't be it ought not be so.
Which it they they do go on to say, like I should read the rest of this, the good parts they say. We lamented the departure from historic Anglican teaching, which is now becoming entrenched in senior leadership of the Church of England. However, we recognize that there are many in the Church of England united in the alliance. I'm sure what the alliance is, who have remained faithful and are offering an increasingly effective resistance to revisionist agenda. It was a privilege for some of us to be present with over 300 Orthodox leaders in July last year, and we assured them of our continued solidarity as they contend for the faith. As GSFA, we are working to truly a home for all Orthodox Anglicans in which relationship-based mission, mutual service, discipleship, and practical action to care for one another are the flesh and bones of the ecclesial structure. Well, I get that. Um, but at some point you need to ask yourselves, what does Christ have to do with Belial? Again, I think we were at that point.
Yeah, it's very sad. I feel bad for Sarah Mullally. Like I feel sorry for her. I
Why do you feel darker?
well, firstly because people who are at the top, the heads of organizations, have a long way to fall when they go down, and um, so that's going to be discouraging. You get held, at least by God, to a higher standard. And so when you fail in your duties, that's really terrible because you do have people's souls as your responsibility, even if you shouldn't have that responsibility. Uh, you're there. Like, so she's in that seat. She's going to be judged. And I don't think just watching her that she actually knows
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
much,
scary. It's
like,
a scary thing to have somebody you put out a collar on and you,
yeah,
or whatever level of ministry you're in. I mean, it's a scary thing
yeah,
because the ministry of is called the cure of souls. Not that
yeah,
you're the cure, like healing cure, but the curate of souls. You're the shepherd. You're shepherding people, and woe be to you if you shepherd them into the darkness. My goodness. Um,
yeah. And I don't think, I don't, it's clear she doesn't really know. She knows how to run a bureaucratic agency. She's probably really good at HR, except not that good, apparently. Um, and I mean, I get the sense watching them that they're all playing church. Everybody is playing at church, but nobody knows what they're
yeah.
messing with. And so I grieve. I don't feel like it's not fun to watch them wreck it all without even knowing what they're doing. I pity her. Um,
Okay. I mean, Georgia,
I mean, I,
Austin says she was lied to. Her faith was formed by heretics. Um, I feel sorry for her too, and all of the lost souls. Well, I mean, I do. I mean, okay, I can see there is the case now since we're uh, how many years off from the major uh, movement of acceptance for the affirming position. Has it been like 20 years now, 30 years now?
probably
So
30. I think
so like
30.
there is now a case where that's somewhat new that didn't exist before, and that is someone who was born in, say, 2010 and raised in an Episcopal church, may never have heard
Hmm.
the truth. Like you're effectively, you could be effectively sealed off from ever hearing the Orthodox case
Hmm.
against sexual sin. Um, and the reason why we affirm marriage is between man and a woman. If you've never heard that biblical case, yeah, I do pity you. Um, and then I can see someone being now like if you've crafted your social media life, who you're listening to, be consistent with what you've always been taught since you've been a kid. You're having people probably in the Episcopal church being ordained in their 20s, 30s who just never have had any kind of real engagement with a smart Orthodox person, a well-read Orthodox person who knows what he's saying or she's saying, who could
And
pop the balloon.
I think, like, if you go back and read Feminism Against Progress, um, Mary Harrington talks about how she hit the ground of reality because a bad thing happened to her in terms of feminism. She grew up in the 90s as a feminist, even though her parents weren't that way. Um, Nobody told her how things are. And she had a horrible run in with reality that sent her into a spin. And because she's so intelligent, she worked it out. Just like Louise Perry's very young has reverse engineered Christianity by looking at sociology and how women are biologically and has figured out nobody told her. She did it all. She had to work it out for herself. Um, how the world actually works. And somebody like Sarah Mullally, I don't know how old she is, but she came up through the British era to healthcare. She was like a bureaucrat in the healthcare system. And I'm sure she's never encountered the living God in church. That's certainly never been the case. She's probably a really good manager and everybody's very polite. And so she goes from, parish to parish. She's elevated and she doesn't know what she's messing with because nobody knows. Um, I think that's a great, great tragedy. It's like the end of the kings of Israel when you're reading Israel and Judah, you're reading along and you realize they don't remember because nobody ever told them anything. They didn't keep the Passover because nobody had done it for hundreds of years. Um, but they were still held accountable. That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, but then, like Josiah comes along, finds the
Yeah.
book, right?
Yeah. Okay. She'll be 64 now.
Exacts all these reforms. And then who's his son?
Yeah.
Manasseh.
Vanessa. Yeah.
I mean, so it just crumbles.
Yeah.
All the work that he'd done just
Yeah.
destroyed after he dies.
Kristen says she's not that good at keeping emails secure. That's true. Big HR fail there. And then Kristen says, but if you recite the Apostles' Creed and read the gospel readings, how do you not see Jesus? If she had a heart to seek him, he would
That's
have.
true. I mean,
That's true. 100%.
that's true. I mean, the great thing about even at this point, as bad as the 79 book is, the prayer book that the Episcopal Church uses, there is the gospel there, right? It's you can kind of get it.
Yeah. You could
Um,
piece it together. No, Bethany's right. Manasseh was Hezekiah's
yeah,
son.
you're right. You're right. Josiah's son was they were pretty bad too, though. You're right. It was Manasseh, not Manasseh was Hezekiah's son, not Josiah's. But Josiah's son, um,
Was the one who was taken away.
Jeconiah and Jehoiakim. Yeah, they were pretty bad.
They were
Um,
sent to Babylon.
and and Zedekiah, I think, was his nephew, the last king of Israel or Judah. Anyway, they're all bad. I mean, there's a bright shining Hezekiah, and then bright shining Josiah, and then in between them, it's terrible.
It's just
Um,
one would hope with the gospel that we wouldn't have to do sort of kings of crumbling dynasties.
right, because it is the new covenant, right? We have a
Is
good
the new
king.
covenant.
We have a new king who's there forever. His throne has been established. It's not going to fall. We shouldn't be. Well, this is why we say, this is why we can confidently say the Church of England is not a church, and the Episcopal Church is not a church because they're no longer under the king. They're rebel organizations. Um, so that's why I don't care. I mean, people are posting uh, when the Global South Fellowship of Anglicans posted their statement. A lot of people were on X saying, "Oh, look, the Global Anglican Communion is nothing. No one's joining it." I don't care. I don't care who joins it. I don't care if nobody joins it, uh, except for the ACNA and Nigeria. That's still a huge chunk of the communion, but uh, but it's going to be more than that. But let's just say it was only the ACNA and the and Nigeria. I don't care. It's I don't want to be associated in any way with the Church of England or the Anglican Communion. We weren't before, but it's nice to have a global Anglican communion that is legitimate and orthodox. Um, so, yeah, it does the numbers game. I know a while back I was saying how large the GAFCON is compared to the Church of England, but even if it weren't so, I don't care. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Well, it's very sad. And I hope that I mean, legitimately hope that somebody tells her about Jesus. I don't know what that would do.
Well, okay, so let's go back. I want to talk. So, yeah, Kristen McGuire said, but if you recite the Apostles' Creed and read the Gospel readings, how do you not see Jesus? If she had a heart to seek him, she would have been found. I agree with that. Um, although I will say, yes, that's absolutely true. And the Holy Spirit can break through any deception or lie and pierce the heart with the word and bring somebody to faith. And I hope that happens for her. And I hope that happens for all of the people um, caught up in these things. But when you're in those contexts, as you and I know pretty well, there's ways to explain away the creed.
Mhm.
Um, the, the resurrection means something completely different in theologically liberal circles than it does in Orthodox circles. Resurrection doesn't mean the resurrection of the body. It means, oh, I've changed my attitude. I have a new outlook on life. Springtime in my heart. That's what it means. And so you learn to read the scriptures even with this coded language as if it's a code pointing to
Nobody's
progressive.
listening to you because they're all talking about my necklace.
Oh,
I'll tell you where it's from after Matt finishes.
oh,
Yeah. Isn't it beautiful?
this is supposed to be a
Yeah.
serious podcast, and here we are talking about. We're supposed to be talking about serious.
Yeah, no, you can have springtime in your heart, and the virgin birth doesn't really matter. Uh, all that stuff.
Well, no, it's like, well, because never mind. I feel like if we're all.
Okay, well, let me tell you about my necklace. I said it at the beginning, it's a Tuareg cross from northern Mali. Mali has gold, just like many um, North African countries. And the Tuareg up there used to be Christian, and they developed these beautiful crosses. And they still make them, even though they don't know what they really are for. So, um, anyway, I don't know where you could get them, but if you look online, they're really great. And they're a great way to remember the persecuted church, I think. John says, springtime in my heart withers pretty quickly to mulch. And, um, oh yeah, and then we have to have a Portia update. We have to, this is a serious podcast, Matt, but there's a lot of other important things like my jewelry. Portia's fine. She ate too much food and was dehydrated. And so we shoved a lot of water into her and she's turned out to be okay. So everybody's sorry now.
Well, everyone should be very sorry.
I don't usually wear jewelry, so I'm glad people notice, or I do, but it's not that exciting. Um, no, I feel sad for Sarah Mullally inexplicably because I think she's wrapped up in a bubble of progressivism. And I mean, as usual, it would take God to go through that. And of course he can, but it doesn't seem like he wants to.
If you were in the second century in a Gnostic church, you would have been taught to read the Bible through a Gnostic lens, right?
Yeah.
So when you read about the virgin birth, you're really talking about the birth of your spirit. When you read about the resurrection, you're really talking about the resurrection of the finding of your true aeon soul, which is beautiful. So anyway, uh, that's how you can be in a church where the gospel's read, not believed, and still not hear it because your mind has been coded.
Yeah. You can. But it, like, I posted this a while ago that poor Lutheran woman in the pulpit who was reading about Jesus calling you to take up your cross and die. And it was like she was encountering it for the first time. She was like, this is
She was
terrible.
disgusted by it, right?
Yeah. She's like, I can't do this. This is terrible. But it did, like, it has power. Like, if you read it out loud in church, even if nobody believes it, um, it does have the power for salvation. And yeah, missionaries should be sent as churches. But maybe not GSFA ones if they think that they're choosing Jesus over, I don't know. I, but yeah, I think missionaries should go back. I mean, Nigeria is sending missionaries to the US and probably Europe, I would imagine. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were saved by the African provinces and gave us per se. So
um, okay, well, we didn't talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Thank heaven. I didn't really want to, um, or any of the other stuff. Uh, yeah, it's heartbreaking because they do believe they're reading the Bible correctly. So it's a very great delusion. But I
I
mean,
just
God
got
is working. People are going to church in England. They're just not going to Anglican churches. They're going to Catholic churches. They're going to Pentecostal churches. Like, there is a resurgence of belief around Europe. I'm like, but it's not into places like the C of E. So,
I just had the most frustrating experience in my month, I guess. It's just started. So far in February, I listened to I rewatched. I remember watching part of it. I rewatched the debate between Wes Huff and Ben Carson, or not Ben, is it Ben Carson?
Billy,
Billy Carson, something. Anyway,
something like that.
it was the most frustrating thing I ever heard in my life. I mean, my goodness, the moderator was horrible. He kept like
He talked.
every time they tried to have like an exchange, the moderator would come in, oh yeah, man, let me tell you my life. I'm like, I love Jesus and I'm so in love with Jesus. I hate the Old Testament. I hate the Old Testament God, but I love Jesus. And kept going on and on and on, wouldn't let Wes Huff talk. Wes Huff was great. He's like super patient. I don't, I mean, I don't know how he does it. He,
Billy Carson.
Billy Carson, yeah, he was like incredibly patient. And as he always is, he's super articulate. Like he's able to just nail down. He's so well read in the textual criticism and he just knows his stuff, right? So
Hmm.
Billy Carson was way outgunned in this thing, but it didn't and everyone saw it, but you couldn't see it as clearly as you could have seen it if the moderator would have just been quiet and
Yeah.
let them talk. It was so frustrating. But that sent me down. I've been on a Wes Huff uh, deep dive, I guess they call it these days. He is really good. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of him because I'm teaching a class on ancient heresies, and he is so good at debunking a lot of this kind of the popular myth mythology about how the New Testament was put together. A little like Michael Kruger, uh, but I think he's actually more um, Kruger isn't a isn't on the interwebs, and my stuff is so. Um, and he's a PhD. He's does this professionally. Really good at the canon. Why do we have the canon we have, and not why don't we have the Gospel of Peter or the Gospel of Mary Magdalene or the Gospel of Jesus' wife or whatever in our New Testament canon? Very good at that. So if you're trying to if you know somebody who's struggling with those kinds of questions, who's read the Da Vinci Code and thinks, well, surely Jesus was married, then send and the Council of Nicaea uh, deleted all the important books, and now we only have this bigoted book. Send them to West Huff link.
Maybe we should like d- download some of those things onto CDs and send them to Canterbury Cathedral or Lambeth Palace. We
That
could
would
send like parcels full of West Huff, West Huff debates and see if,
that would
like
take
in
the
the
most
old days.
boomer thing you've said in a long time.
Yeah. I
Why
don't even know how you would,
don't we transcribe them
yeah,
and send them by mail to the
yeah, with
or
a pen.
Xerox them and like Xerox copies of
Yeah.
our transcribed West Huff.
And then send them in the mail.
Yeah. So we should.
Yeah. It is, I do have to take the girls to dance. So
Okay.
did you have anything else you really want to talk about?
No fax. We should fax them. That's right.
Fax it. Yes. I have a friend whose job is in the hospital and her job is to fax things to people. I was very shocked, but she just sits there and faxes things, and that's really shocking to me. Apparently, hospitals fax, but that's the only place that do. So, well, yeah, we must run along, but thank you all for coming to this afternoon's live stream. February is always the longest month of the year, psychologically. So hopefully it won't be awful. And oh, the State Department also faxes. And I'm going to stick around and record a few comments and then run the girls to dance. And I really don't want to blog about Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm looking for literally anything else. It's so awful, but we'll see what happens for tomorrow. Anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great evening. Bye.